Call the meeting to order. Consideration of any changes, additions, or removals to the agenda.
I've done.
Approved minutes from previous meetings. June 6th, regular meeting, July 24th, joint board meeting.
Do you want to do them as one, or should we do them separately?
I'm good with both of them, but
I didn't have any changes, so I would make a motion to approve both the June 6th and the July 24th.
okay, I would second. Comments from citizens?
Yes, we've got a comment from Paul Hanson. Paul, do you want to?
Sure, thank you. I know you have a lot on your plate tonight. I'm glad you're here. So, I am a Vermont-based website developer for municipalities, and I know you're on this old GovOffice template that you're required to update, I think, by the end of the year. And I believe the new company, Catalyst, is charging quite a bit more. So I just wanted to reach out to you. I know you have a lot on your plate to let me know that you have this Vermont-based option in my company, and to inquire where you're at with the website. Do you know that you need to work on it or anything? You have been working on it?
I personally think that our website desperately needs an update. Every 5 years or so, we like to redo it. So
It needs to be completed.
I think we should definitely consider that.
Paul, if you wouldn't mind sending your contact info to myself, my email is tmanager@tds.net. It's also on the website. If you send me that, because it's something that the website is in desperate need of an overhaul. So, and I think during this flood event that was proved.
And I believe GovOffice that you've used for years has been purchased by Catalyst,
Correct.
the state company.
Yep.
And so great, I will contact you with some info. We just finished a joint website for the town and village of Swanton.
Okay.
And that turned out pretty good. They're happy with it. And so yeah, I'll send you info. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah.
So, I have a question.
Go ahead, Gene.
I don't know, am I like solely out of the loop here? But I thought there was a public hearing tonight.
It was moved to September.
It was improperly warned.
Because I went on the site.
Yep.
When was it removed?
Earlier this
Probably
afternoon.
earlier today.
11.
Yeah, it was today.
It was.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm just really happy that I don't have the wrong day.
No, you're correct.
It was moved to a date in September. I believe our meeting in September.
Yes.
Because it's such an important meeting.
Was it improperly warned, or was somebody unable to attend?
It was, there was a question regarding the validity of how it was warned because there were two conflicting meetings. So essentially, the Board of Trustees meeting, there was a question of whether or not there needed to be verbiage on the trustees meeting agenda in order for that to be part of it, because they both were warned as starting at 6 o'clock. So there was a question into the Secretary of State's office, and we never got an answer back in time. So,
Okay. I'm sorry. I wish it was tonight, but it is on the September 4th, I believe,
Correct.
meeting.
5th.
4th is Monday.
Never mind, Labor Day. Next one.
Yeah, moving on.
Yeah.
Next Monday.
Postpone it. Okay. Great. What do we have next? Any comments from
Any other
citizens?
comments?
Would you please have the person who is 404 I can't read it.
That is most likely Terry Carter, according to the texting I'm getting, because that's what Patrick Cody said it would be.
All right, whoever it was left.
Okay.
Well, we're all having unstable internet. I'm getting booed off here.
Let's get
Okay, so review and possibly approve bids for village paving.
So we did have bids for the village paving, which was Mill and Meadow Street. After talking with Ron, we'd like to hold off on those. Mill Street will be
Sorry.
Mill Street will be done in probably accordance with FEMA. Meadow Street, just the timing is not correct on that one, so we're gonna table that and see what we want to do maybe in September.
Mill Street, we had that bridge too, that we were going to think about turning into a pedestrian bridge.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that's
but
But they wanted a lot of money for that pedestrian bridge, from what I remember.
yeah.
So potentially now we can apply for a grant to get that.
Yes, it might be done altogether.
Perfect.
And review and possibly approve wastewater 3/4 ton truck with plow.
So that is one bid that we can award. It's for the wastewater department. Bids, we had 3 bids from Benson's, Ford of Claremont, and Springfield Auto Saver Group. Benson's was the low bid at $31,090.
I'll make a motion to approve Benson Chevrolet.
I would second that.
Believe we have our eyes, but
Sewer allocation requests. 65 Pine Hill Road needs to hook onto system in a 5-bedroom allocation.
So that is I think you have in front of you a pretty standard request. Just went over it with Joe, didn't seem to have any problems. So I would recommend approving that.
great. I make a motion to approve.
I would second.
Brendan,
Yes,
go ahead. Chair, sorry.
Discuss Vale Bridge sewer line project.
So that is another thing that has changed. A month ago, we were going to discuss how to deal with the Vale sewer line that is under the river crossing there because it needed to be protected in case of damage that would cause everyone to go into the river. Since the events of the flooding on the 10th, it's pretty well armored right now. So we did speak with Scott Jensen on Friday, who is the river management director for the state. We looked at a number of different spots throughout town that we can get in the river, that being one of them, both on the upper side and lower side. I guess that'd be north and south side of that bridge, trying to maneuver it. We're going to have to get in there while still protecting that line. We can use much of the gravel and the rock that is there to protect that line, and we'll just kind of swale it down, and we're going to work to kind of protect the mouth where that Jewel Brook comes into the Black River as well, behind the municipal parking lot.
So I couldn't see any of the pipe exposed
No.
at this point. It's all buried, right?
Yes. So if we get to digging, we might see some, but while we're in there, we're going to be able to, kind of kill 2 birds with one stone with that one. No pun intended.
Your department head reports.
Just
Department head reports.
this is the highway. You do not have water and sewer or water sewer. They've been pretty straight out, as with the highway, doing a tremendous job.
I know this isn't necessarily a village issue, but with the Depot Street Bridge, what is the status on that? I know all resources go towards obviously flood efforts,
Yeah.
but I don't want to get sidelined on that.
No, so that's still, we have some pieces that still are going to be, the bridge has been repaired. We just have to pave that. And I think when they come into town to do some of the other repairs, they're going to whack that out too.
Yeah, that's usually when they get little patches like
Exactly.
that. Otherwise,
We have a couple that we have to do.
any other, anything else on department head reports? Age receivables report.
Age receivables is, we're doing all right with it in terms of wastewater. We have a few that are over 120 days that calculate out to about $28,000, but that's really calculated into a concentrated group, which we are addressing. We have a few that are some of the higher offenders that I have direct lines of communication with. And, unfortunately, this kind of becomes a touchy situation because we don't want to, we got to be careful and conscious of what we're dealing with the flood and the effects of that. So doing better than last month. Still some work to do, but things that I think if we when I address one or two of these accounts, will have a drastic effect on our bottom line, especially the over 120.
We're going to need all hands on deck for rebuilding.
We are.
Other business?
I just want to say what a great job I think all the town folks have done out there. It's just, it's heartbreaking to see them. And that it was so hot and the conditions were not great. And places where I went into the village and had these people were very polite, and I'm sure it was hard for all of them. I just want to thank them all, everybody who was out there. And we'll probably continue to be out there for us.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to recognize Gene's statement and kind of expound on it as the community came together unlike any community I've ever been a part of. And I've reached out to people that have been in catastrophes in other locations, and the resilience and the camaraderie that this community, in particular the village, showed, says a lot about the character of the town.
Yeah, I agree. Everybody's gone above and beyond. They're doing everything we got. And
when you think about it, from the transfer station to, wastewater to the highway to the rec department, every department we can think of, the folks in the office, it is overwhelming.
Yep. Municipal manager updates.
I'll just kind of touch on a few things that have moved forward since the joint meeting last week. Progress, I think, as everyone has just said, we're looking at 3 weeks since yesterday. Bob and I kind of talked about it briefly walking in here, that 3 weeks, or 3 weeks from today, I don't think anybody would expect that we'd be in the situation that we're in right now. We were staring down something that was very, very scary, and still is. But to back up what everybody said, that the community, the town, the municipality has just been top notch, 100% forward in getting things accomplished in an extraordinary amount of time, and getting things back to where we are while taking care of your neighbors, et cetera. Everything from the community center to wastewater, getting our wastewater plant was decimated and is now back to somehow functionality of, taking in flows, disinfecting, and then releasing those flows. So we're at basically a summer capacity right now, which is actually pretty amazing for the work those guys have done. Sewer line behind, a couple days in, we found after, the dust started to settle, we found we had that crack, destroyed sewer line behind Village Pizza. That actually was fixed and tied back online at about 5:30 this evening. So
Nice.
that is back running.
Good
Pump,
move.
the pump's out, and that is taking flow, which is tremendous because that is the big 14-inch line that runs everything. So big credit, our water, wastewater, highway, M&M took care of that job. They were there immediately. So that's a big one. We talked about Vale Bridge. That was something we're taking care of. The other issue that I think I sent everyone an email over the weekend was our concern over the bridge on Pond Street by the fire station. Something has happened. Nobody really knows what it is. The amount of flow that comes down from the railroad culvert off the mountain has increased. Obviously, there's a huge amount of debris, silt, gravel that has now, when the water picks up, it rushes under that bridge. That bridge now has very, very little clearance underneath it. So at 4:30 on Saturday afternoon, I got a call from Chief Kalinda and Ron Tarbell that was right up against the abutment, and it was ready to roll over the road again. Thankfully, Mike O'Neill was there. He happened to commandeer an excavator, start bailing out of the water. Another one, a gentleman who works for Off the Rails, was able to get one of their bigger loaders, and they started bailing, and were able to relieve some of that stress on that bridge, because it was going to be not a good situation again, which is something that, unfortunately, the railroad situation there's not a lot of oversight with the town nor the state over what the railroad can do, how they put things back. That's a discussion for another day. But what we have to do is cover ourselves, and we're already started communications with V-Trans regarding the size and doing a hydraulic study of that bridge right there in the village, because that's just going to continue to be a problem. And if that washes out, we're in the same boat that we were 3 weeks ago, where half the town, potentially all of it, is isolated again. And keeping in mind that it's not just the town that is isolated, but there's a lot of pressure on us as well to get that open, as 103 is a huge artery through the town. So when you start isolating that, you can't get, people can't get to places they need to go. So that's really kind of the update right now. Trying to think if there was anything else that has,
So that filled back in like the Vale Bridge.
Yeah. There was probably 6 to 8 inches of clearance underneath the bridge.
Yeah, there was hardly any.
It was difficult. We are, other than that, again, I can't say enough about what kind of spot we're in, and at the risk of being redundant. We covered a lot at the joint meeting last week. But again, we're moving forward, working with FEMA. I had a meeting today with FEMA, and as this is the phase now we're in, is whereas 2-3 weeks in, the adrenaline starts to wear off, and you kind of get into the weeds of the paperwork and FEMA and securing proper bids. And this for the town, we've done a very good job, I think, for the community, getting people the assets that they need and the support they need, whether that's things at the community center, funding if possible, directing people who need FEMA and Red Cross to call 211. That's a big thing too. Still now, if you have not called and registered with 211, you need to do that. But now the focus kind of transitions to the town, where we've been full steam ahead in getting repairs done. And now it's just making sure that we check all the boxes when it comes to FEMA, because it becomes more of a cost recovery effort for the town. And it's not going to be, and I just want to, I've had a lot of phone calls and conversations with people, and they need to just be aware that this is has turned into the marathon from the sprint. You know, this is going to be years that we recover from this. I told someone when I started in Cavendish in 2017, I closed out the last FEMA grant, so that was 6.5 years after the fact. So repairs that we're doing now, I know people see it and say, oh no, that it shouldn't be put back that way. Everything is up for evaluation. It's just a long process. We have yet to even be assigned a FEMA rep. That'll be in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And then we'll start to have a little more open meetings with FEMA regarding the municipality. But
I'd like to touch on funding for a moment. Businesses are going to be eligible for up to $20,000 in ACCD, Agency of Commerce and Community Development grants. The governor signed off on $20 million coming that way in the form of $20,000 grants for businesses to help recover. That's also open to municipalities, and the ACCD also has other municipality approved grants that I think we should really think about too, because federal funding is one thing, and of course we're going to explore that avenue, but state funding is really where you get the assistance a lot of the time. This is going to be like you said, half-decade recovery. We have dams that we need to build. We have sidewalks we need to repair. We have bridges we need to rehab. We have an uphill battle. And I think a focused effort is to maintain what we were doing pre-flood to make sure we don't miss any steps, while also incorporating, which is going to be more work on everybody, but I know we're up to the challenge. And one thing we want to talk about is looking at the village and looking at the town as separate entities and seeing how does that work for us in terms of applying for grants and applying for certain assistance.
I did have one question, Brendan. Is there a limit, time limit to get a hold of 211?
there's not right now.
Okay.
They're still collecting data. So I would recommend that everyone.
I just wanted to get it out there.
To my knowledge, there's not a, Red Cross and I know that some of the agencies are back in town right now through Friday at the community center. So I would recommend getting down there. You can go online, you can call, and they'll help you with the process. I've done it for family members. It's not all that difficult.
I have one quick question. Today I was going down Pleasant Street, Lower Pleasant, and I could go slow enough to see the river and all the trees and the whatever. Who is that on the town to clean that up? Or?
That is up for debate at this point.
Okay.
It's funny because there are conflicting reports. Some reports will tell you to get in the river and get rid of them. Other people say do not do it, which is difficult because it becomes a question of if there is there's a tree that is 150 feet from a bridge, you can probably get in and get that one. If, for example, you're going down, you see that and they're 1,000 feet from the bridge, that might be a no-go. If you ask me, I'd go in and get all of them, but because it's just going to.
Why didn't you leave it there?
That falls on the state of Vermont. They determine it whether it's a loss of life potential. And again, there's some conflicting reports because what some reports I have say, yeah, go for it, no problem. And then others say, don't do it. And part of that is also conflicting with FEMA. So.
We'll also remember the wildlife.
Correct.
Couldn't build a bridge. We had to push it out a month because of the bat migration. So good luck getting a tree out of the river, putting equipment down there. Okay.
So set date for the next meeting, September.
Not September 4th.
No, September 5th.
Perfect.
That's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday, which means the select board meeting will be
Day after.
a week after.
Okay, sign warrant orders. I have, but I don't.
think that's been done.
Possible executive session.
Got nothing.
Okay. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, so moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.